so delighted to have you here today, Janet. Congratulations on being one of the Casting Guild of Australia Rising Stars of 2024. Just to introduce myself to everyone out there, my name's Janine Snape. My pronouns are she, her.
And my name's Janet Anderson. My pronouns are also she, her.
Thanks for joining us, Janet, or me on Zoom. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Boonwurrung and the Wurrung peoples of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm zooming in from today, and to pay my respects to all First Nations people, their elders past, present, and their enduring connections to country, knowledge, and to stories.
Yeah, and I should quickly acknowledge I'm here on Gadigal land here in the Eora Nation in Sydney.
Thanks for that, Janet. So this is exciting. It's really great to see you, and very exciting to have you as one of our rising stars this year. I just had a couple of questions for you that we can dive into if you're happy to do that. I'm interested to know what sparked your initial interest in acting and what motivated you to pursue it as a career.
Well, when I think about the first times that I saw, acting performances that I really engaged with, I think it was my mum has always been a huge fan of old Hollywood films. So she ran me through kind of like the Marilyn Monroe collection, and I loved like Mae West and Lauren Bacall and Lucille Ball and all of those kind of I was always drawn to like the glamour of it all. But the like enigmatic women of that era. But yeah, just like kind of powerful women on screen. And I think also like when I was a teenager and my voice broke, I grew up being a singer, and so like singing was a huge part of my life. And then when my voice broke, I kind of went through my first real experience of grief, and I had to find a new way to connect with that thing that I loved so much. And that way was performing and acting. And I think I was lucky enough to go to Newtown Performing Arts School, and so I had so many incredible artists around me and facilities, and it kind of led me down that path. And then I decided that I was pretty good at it. And I think after I had transitioned, my first instinct that this could be a viable career path was, seeing Laverne Cox in Orange is the New Black. She was the first trans woman I really ever saw on screen who had like a name and a character and was integral to the story and gave so much of herself. And obviously it was an outstanding performance. But I think like that was really the first time that it kind of clicked that maybe this was something that I could pursue, because like I just really didn't see it for myself, and didn't think that it was going to be available to me. So it was after seeing, a representation of trans women on screen that then I thought, perhaps that's something I could do as well. Yeah.
What has been your most memorable or impactful project you've worked on over the course of your career so far, and what made it so special?
Well, I can say without a doubt that my experience touring Overflow, the show that I did with Darlinghurst Theatre Company, that's written by Travis Alabanza and directed by Dino Dimitriadis, that was a very life-changing experience for me. So the play first came into my life in lockdown, actually, when I was still, I think, in second year at NIDA. And Dino, we had met on a project before, and they sent it to me just wanting me to read it, and they were going to try and get it up somewhere. And it was a beacon of hope, to think that a role like this, first of all, existed, second of all, was being made, and that had potential to take it elsewhere was huge. And I think there were so many aspects of the story that spoke so specifically to me and my identity and my experiences in life. And so, yeah, it just felt like such a lightning strike to be able to make it all happen while I was still at drama school, because I ended up doing the show when I was still in third year. So doing a one-woman show while also studying acting third year at NIDA was a task, but I'm better for it. And yeah, I just got to meet so for some context, the show was put together with entirely gender diverse and trans creative crew as well. So like everyone on the team was trans or gender diverse. And I think that just like let me be introduced to so many incredible artists who I'm so glad to call my friends and family now. And we were able to tour the show, so we got even closer working together. And I think it just was like a real, you know, lesson in the kind of work that I want to make and the kind of work that I'm interested in seeing and pursuing. And, you know, with the show had a really incredible community engagement strategy as well. That meant that trans people were able to come and see the show more easily for lots of different reasons. But it also meant that I was able to meet people after the show and, you know, connect with so many more people. And it was just this like really life-changing experience of stepping into myself, and to be able to do that in such an incredible role that's in such an incredible show was like, yeah, I couldn't have asked for a better kind of main stage debut. I mean, yeah, it was pretty incredible.
What are your hopes for the future of entertainment, and what kind of stories would you like to see told?
Okay, well, my hopes for the future of entertainment is that I can look around a set or you know, a theatre production and see the kind of people who I surround myself with in everyday life. You know, I feel like so many times on set I have been the only trans person or the only, you know, queer person, or there's been, you know, it's been lacking in any kind of people of color or people of disabilities or any kind of, you know, people in the minorities or margins. And I think that if we can get people like that into different aspects of the work, then that's when it might begin to feel slightly more equitable. I think like I also would love for myself and for other trans people to be able to be cast in roles that aren't necessarily trans roles. You know, I think while I've been very, very lucky to be able to work like within my identity and tell trans stories so far in my career, I wouldn't be so naive as to limit myself to that, because in this country, there's certainly not a big enough volume of trans roles to be able to build a career off. And so I would love to be able to, for casting directors or whatever, to be able to see me outside of my identity and cast me for my talent alone, you know, and for my ability, rather than because I tick a box or whatever that is, you know. And that, I guess, is what I hope that we're moving towards. I think like for people to be able to see themselves in all aspects of entertainment, as we covered at the beginning, I think it's like so important and so valuable that we can't underestimate like the power that has, you know. And if we start to do that now and start to see more trans actors on screen now, then like, you know, think about the artists who are coming up behind myself or the other women or people who have like led the way. You know, I can say specifically from my experience on Overflow, there were multiple trans women or trans people that have entered careers into the arts or attempting to enter careers in the arts because of seeing the show. So I think, yeah, it's like more means more. Producing means production gets made, you know, like, yeah, I also think in terms of getting projects off the ground, so I'm someone who loves to make my own work, or would love to be able to produce my own stuff and work with like-minded artists that I like and surround myself with. But it's really hard to make anything that with like, there's just not enough support for creatives and actors or artists. There's not enough funding, there's not enough trust, there's not enough opportunity. And I think like if we're working more towards that, I think like the more stories we get to tell, the better. And I think it also means that the people who are able to pursue a career in the arts are often, you know, from a certain class background or of a certain race. And I think that also just makes it less reflective of who we are, you know. And I think that if we can make the arts slightly less elitist than it has been in time immemorial, and, you know, share it around, I think that will make more interesting stuff. Just that's like what has happened historically and what will continue to happen. You know, you invite people into the room and then they share their stories and people love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was talking to someone the other day about why I love theatre so much, and storytelling. I'm very privileged to be in this industry where we get to tell stories, but the experience of being in a theatre where it's the place where you go and sit and I switch my phone off and I focus and have that shared experience with a bunch of people in that place, which is quite unique, I think.
The impact that I want people to take from my work is that, one, it's possible, but also, I would love to use my privileges to make work beyond my own identity. I would love to be able to open the door to women behind me, maybe, women of a different upbringing or privilege or whatever, like, I think that who would I be if I didn't open the door behind me and help the rest of my community get to like the amazing opportunities and advantages that I have. I think that's an impact that I'd like to have with my work. I think also like seeing trans women in every aspect that they exist. I no longer want to just be telling kind of, in my opinion, rudimentary stories of trans existence or trans lives. I would love to be able to explore new depths and work with artists who are interested in, like every other aspect of life like that. And I think there's so many more stories that can be told and deserve to be told. And I don't want to wait around for someone else to make them and write them. I'm like passionate about like go-getting, Yeah.
What advice would you offer to young aspiring actors just starting out and trying to break into the industry today?
My first thought is I'm reminded of this Rick Owens quote of like, if you want to make clothes, you have to learn to make clothes, like produce. There's no point in doing anything unless you're actually kind of boots on the ground making things. I think like if you want to be an actor, you want to be a creative, like get as many fingers in pies as possible, like go and have a look at like fashion and what that speaks to you, or like go see as many films as possible, go see as much theater as possible, like, and make things with your friends. Like, you never know what an opportunity might get you as well, I think. So be broad with what you take in and put out, I would say. Like, I don't think it's helpful to anyone if you just kind of leave it up to chance or leave it up to luck, because Lord knows that many of us don't get those chances, and many of us aren't that lucky. So like you have to kind of take the bull by the horns a little bit and start making your own stuff. And surround yourself with like-minded artists, form an opinion and then find people who share that same opinion and make things together, I think would be my biggest advice. I would also say, don't start a podcast until you have a really good idea. That would be my advice to young people. And then, I think like just consume and produce as much as you can, really. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great advice. Just being creatively engaged, and it all feeds into all, every area of your profession, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. I just don't think your work can exist in a vacuum, like you have to be feeding your creativity constantly. That would be my best advice. I know I do my my best work when I'm surrounded by things that stimulate me,
Yeah, and having conversations and
Yeah. And, being a queer person in the queer community, I'm very lucky to be surrounded by so many creative people, like there's so many of my friends and collaborators are just like these incredible artists who make their own things and do, completely on their own dime. And I just like am constantly inspired by the people I surround myself by. And I think that's really important as well.
Thank you so much for zooming in today. It's really great to see you. Congratulations again. And we look forward to seeing you a bit later on in the year.
Yes, should be fun.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That's a pleasure. It's great to see you.